Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ram's Head Tavern on Stage in historic Annapolis. I'm Alex Courtwright with Rob Tim, and in 4 days, you, our fellow citizens, fellow Annapolitans, will be making a very important decision. It's Election Day, Tuesday, and you will be selecting our next mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you one of the three gentlemen who indeed will become our next mayor, but they're all here today to talk about the issues, and they're all great candidates. Dave Cordell, Josh Cohen, and Chris Fox. We will have an opportunity to hear opening statements and closing statements from each of our candidates. We'll take a couple of short breaks throughout the course of the hour. We'll ask questions, and you will ask questions as we've assembled here at the Ram's Head Tavern on Stage. The R&R Breakfast for the Candidates is presented by the restaurants and retailers of Park Place, Annapolis, Mills Fine Wine and Spirits, and the Ram's Head Tavern on Stage here on West Street. We drew straws, and it's time for our opening statements. Up first, Dave Cordell.
Good morning. How's everybody this morning?
Good morning.
I want to thank WNR, the audience out here, and those listening. If Josh and I weren't both married, I think Chris would think this might be the dating game. But we're down to the final stretch, and it's been very stressful on all of us and our families and friends and campaign workers. And I just want to thank everybody, including my other two candidates. We're in the home stretch, and basically, since I only have a minute and I've already used half of it talking to you all, I'm just going to say, I just ask you to please look at the records of all of us from all the way back, and then look at what each of us have done and accomplished along the way. And I truly feel a burning desire from within for this city, and I really want to take it to a different place in a different manner. So I ask for you to think very carefully, and please select the best candidate, and I hope that candidate is me. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we can bring the microphones to the stands, that'd be good.
Might not be a bad idea. Chris Fox.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here this morning. I'm glad to have this opportunity. We're only 4 days away. For me, this has been a 2-year race. I got in the mayor race 2 years ago to really make a difference in this town. And I think overwhelmingly the residents in this town want a real change, and I think I'm that candidate. I think the best thing about this race for me has been something that has actually little to do with the issues. It's similar to the best thing about my profession day to day in the restaurant business. And that's the fact that is I meet new people every day. And in this race over the last 2 years, going door to door at the forums and the debates, the meet and greets, I've met a couple thousand people in this town that I normally would have never met. And that has been the best thing about this race. I'm very happy and proud to have been an independent candidate, and I'm very much looking forward Tuesday to changing this town for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And finally, with an opening statement, Josh Cohen.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Alex and Rob. Or is it Rob and Alex?
It's both.
That's right.
You pick.
Thank you all for being here. Let me tell you briefly about myself. I'm born and raised in Annapolis, and my wife and I are now raising our 2 young girls, 1-year-old and 5 years old, over in West Annapolis. All 3 of us love Annapolis, and it's a real pleasure to be running for mayor with these 2 fine fellow candidates. I want to get to the point and tell you why I'm running, and I'm running because we need to fundamentally change the way we do business at City Hall, and I want you to know what I'm going to do specifically and how things are going to be different. And I'm going to start by hiring a professional, certified city administrator to manage the day-to-day operations of city government. The lack of that has been a big reason for these costly management failures we've seen over the past few years. I'm going to rein in government spending. I'm going to eliminate some positions and consolidate some functions. And also, where needed, I'm going to bring in new talent and fresh ideas, because we should not continue doing things the way we've been doing them just because that's how we've always been doing them. I'm excited about the future. I know that as wonderful as Annapolis is, it can be so much better, and I know that City Hall can work so much better. And I ask you for your vote on Tuesday. Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
In this race, one of the most prominent issues raised is that of something actually you just addressed, Josh. Is that a really a fundamental change in governmental operation here in the great city of Annapolis, and that is the city manager proposal, where a trained and or accredited professional manager assumes control over much of the day-to-day operations of City Hall. Josh, you touched on it. I'd like each of you to identify specifically what you mean by that, how it'll happen, and what it means for Annapolis. Dave, why don't you start?
Okay, thank you. We've talked a lot, forever it seems, on the city manager position. I've always supported having the city manager question go on the ballot, and I've worked for over 8 months with the two proponents of that to try to find some common ground. Eventually, we found that they did not have enough of the signatures to go ahead and have it put on the ballot. So I met with them one last time, and after the primary, and we were able to come to some common ground because I had wanted a particular version of it. We all came off finally, and we determined that we needed to have a city manager. I always would have had a strong city manager, in that from my military experience, you always have an operations guy, and that operations person or gal is going to be the city manager. And in my form, I will be the policy maker. I will, when I'm out here campaigning, which I call the job interview for your votes, I am expected to carry out that vision and the goals that I've set forth. So I will find a city manager with the approval of the majority of the city council that will agree in principle and theory on how we're going to get there. And that person is going to be the vehicle to get us to where we need to be in Annapolis. We need professional department directors. We need qualified department directors. So that city manager will be responsible for achieving that goal. That frees me up as mayor to go out and work with the county government, state government, and the feds to try to bring some great things to Annapolis. And the policy and the way that we're going to get there, I'll have the ability to go out and work with the public, with the constituents, and listen to the voices of the people, which I did in coming to the city manager bill, which I sponsored the charter amendment at city council, which is pending public hearing.
Chris Fox.
Thank you. I am the only candidate in this race that has always wholeheartedly supported the switch to a council manager form of government. Quite simply, one of the reasons I got in this race is because I've always believed, even before I decided to run for mayor, that we should treat government more like a business and run at a surplus and stop running at deficits and irresponsibly spending taxpayers' money. And switching to council manager is switching to more professionalism. And more professionalism in business and government should always be the best option. Quite simply, the city manager's job is to implement policy decided by the council and mayor. So if you model government off of a successful $86 million company, and the budget is $86 million, the mayor would be the CEO, and the city manager would be the chief operations officer. So the mayor is still the head policy maker of the city. So we're not handing over the city to a non-elected official. I think that's a common fear among residents. I will work with the city manager and the city council in acquiring the best candidate possible. And I've already discussed with other professional city managers in the state of Maryland who have been willing to consult on this transition and work with the ICMA as well in making a smooth transition.
Thank you, Chris. Josh Cohen.
Thank you. Both forms of government that we're talking about have a commonality, which is that both forms of government have a position that's charged with supervising the day-to-day operations, a chief operating officer, if you will. The terminology is, if it's called a city administrator, it means it's hired by the mayor. If it's called a city manager, it means it's hired and fired by a majority vote of the city council. Same position, different appointment authority. And the reason I think it's important that the mayor have that authority is not because I'm running for mayor, but because it's important that the buck stop with somebody who's accountable to the voters. As mayor, you may not agree with all of my decisions, but you're going to know that the mayor is the one who is responsible. Yesterday, I released a 5-point plan to improve public safety, and the first point is to ask Chief Mike Pursuit to stay on. We have a 20-year low in crime. Violent crimes are down Part 1 crimes are down 42% from last year. I'm the only candidate for mayor who can actually commit to saying, I want Chief Pursuit to come back next year.